All right, so good evening, everyone. Hare Krishna. So now we will have a discussion about Krishna consciousness by me. We'll have a discussion together. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari So, I was contemplating on what I would speak about, and that could be sometimes challenging, to kind of try to find something to talk about. I mean, of course, there's a lot to talk about, but I guess the problem is there's a lot of choices, so to pick one specific topic, or one particular verse. So I thought we could discuss this, the seventh canto, which is entitled of the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the book which comes after the Bhagavad Gita, the Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavad Gita has 700 verses. And Srimad Bhagavatam has 18,000 verses. So if you read 1 hour a day, or about 40 pages a day actually, to be precise, we'll finish the Bhagavatam in 1 year. if you read 40 pages a day. So it's a little more difficult to finish in the Bhagavad Gita. But I thought we could discuss from the 7th canto, which is entitled The Science of God. Text, chapter 6, Prahlad instructs his demonic schoolmates, and text 10. And the reason I picked this was because we are very soon going to be celebrating Nrsimha Chaturdashi, celebrating the appearance day of Lord Nrsimhadev. And for those of you who aren't familiar with that, you could attend the festival, which is May 14th, Saturday. So you could attend that festival and you could find all about the appearance day of Lord Nrsimhadev. I'm not going to tell you about it now, but it's a very beautiful celebration. So yeah, Canto 7, Chapter 6, Prahlad instructs his demonic schoolmates, text 10. So Prahlad Maharaj is the son of Hiranyakashipu, and Nrsimhadev, he's a really bad father, a cruel father, very abusive to Prahlad Maharaj, and Nrsimhadev comes to take care of Hiranyakashipu and save his devotee Prahlad. So we're hearing Prahlad's teachings now, part of his teachings. It sounds like a little bit of an echo, Tapas. You hear that? Does anybody else hear an echo? Yeah, a little bit. Sounds a bit of an echo. Maybe you could check the audio room. I'm glad you're here, because or else I'd have to tolerate the echo the whole time. I'm already having a hard time tolerating it just for 5 minutes. But it sounds like there's an echo. Maybe. Okay, so here we go. I'll just read the Sanskrit and then English translation and commentary. Konvarta trishnam visrajet pranabhyo piya ipsitaha yam krinat yashubi preshtais taskara sevako vanik. Anyways. Translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Money is so dear that when one conceives of money as being sweeter than honey. Therefore, who can give up the desire to accumulate money, especially in household life? Thieves, professional servants, soldiers, and merchants try to acquire money even by risking their very dear lives. Purport. Commentary. How money can be dearer than life is indicated in this verse. Thieves may enter the house of a rich man to steal money at the risk of their lives. Because of trespassing, they may be killed by guns or attacked by watchdogs, but still they try to commit burglary. Why do they risk their lives? Only to get some money. Similarly, a professional soldier is recruited into the army, and he accepts such service with the risk of dying on the battlefield, only for the sake of money. In the same way, merchants go from one country to another on boats at the risk of their lives, or they dive into the water of the sea to collect pearls and valuable gems. Thus, it is practically proved, and everyone will admit, that money is sweeter than honey. One may risk everything to acquire money, and this is especially true of rich men who are too attached to household life. Formerly, of course, the members of the higher castes, the Brahmins, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas, everyone but the Shudras, were trained in the Gurukul, trained in student life, to adhere to a life of renunciation and sense control by practicing brahmacharya, celibacy, and mystic yoga. Then they were allowed to enter household life. There have consequently been many instances in which great kings and emperors have given up household life in which great kings and emperors have given up household life. Although they were extremely opulent and were the masters of kingdoms, they could give up all their possessions because they were trained early as brahmacharis. Prahlad Maharaja's advice is therefore very appropriate. Komara acharit pragyo dharman bhagavataniha dolabam manusham janma tad up yadruvam artadam. One who is sufficiently intelligent should use the human form of body from the very beginning of life, in other words, from the tender age of childhood, to practice the activities of devotional service, giving up all other engagements. The human body is most rarely achieved, and although temporary like other bodies, it is meaningful because in human life one can perform devotional service. Even a slight amount of sincere devotional service can give one complete perfection. Human society should take advantage of this instruction. All right, ends the purport. Om Ganativarandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshuvan Maditam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Kritavachalam Pangam Langai Tegrim Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinitarinam Bancha Kopdiribishcha Kripa Sindhubevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. All right, so you'll have to just excuse me for, just need to take off this sweater. I think they're pumping the heater in here. Is that true? Does anybody else feel the heater? Are they, Govardhan? The heater's pumping? I mean, that's okay, whatever, you can leave it on if you want, but I just have. Well, for the last 15 years, more than 15 years, but I've been here 15 years. Last 15 years, we lived without a heater. And now for the last, 3 months, we can't live without a heater. So anyways, it's, when you suffer for a long time, and then you have the chance not to suffer, people, really. So, but whatever. But it was true. It was really cold. Like, of course, we're in San Diego, but it's not like Minnesota or something. But we are by the ocean. It gets a little cool, the weather, and there's not proper insulation in this building. So, and I remembered in the morning it would get really cold. At least, relatively speaking. You want to talk into Mike? You could pass him the mic. I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt. No, that's okay. Please. I'd like to hear what you have to say.
I was just saying about how cold it was. I was speaking with Bhishma, Bhishma Dev the other day. And he said he remembers being a brahmachari here, and it was sometimes on very cold mornings, they would literally bring in a propane little heater and put it in the middle of the temple room. They would huddle around it to chant their morning japa. So anyways, you were bringing that up. So now things are better.
Yeah. I also remember, don't worry, it's not going to be a whole stream of memories here, just one last. But yeah, we live upstairs, and somehow or other, sometimes when you anyways, one devotee had his heater plugged in, and I knew he was very attached to being warm, and I just knew him by nature. He was my friend, and that really bothered him, if he couldn't be warm, So he would be blasting his heater in one room, and then I'd be in the next room. So I remember I tried to plug a heater in, and he was always using his heater. So I tried to plug mine in, and the lights turned off, you know. So then I was thinking, okay, this is the problem. So one of us are going to go without a heater. So I just told him to go without. I'm just joking. No. I went without a heater. I just learned to live without a heater in the cold months, and so it was tolerable. I would just bundle up, you know, a lot of sweaters and sitting reading or whatever. But then at one point, it started like really kind of messing with my mind. I'm like, this is too much. Like, so that's when that was the impetus for the installation of the heaters upstairs. My mind kind of, you know. So, anyways, enough about heating systems. So here in this particular verse and purport, it's talking about money, which everyone, more or less, has to deal with. It's a reality, you could say, that everybody has to deal with. And there's a Krishna conscious way and a non-Krishna conscious way, or a spiritual way and a material way to deal with wealth. Wealth is one of the opulences in the material world, and it's also one of the opulences of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Aishvaryasya samagrasya viryasya yasasashriya. There's these 6 opulences that Krishna has in full. So, does anyone in the audience remember some of those 6 opulences? You want to? Yes, okay. All powerful, all beautiful.
All renunciation.
Renunciation. Famous.
All
Knowledge. And renunciation. Yeah. So beauty, wealth, fame, renunciation, knowledge, and strength. These are the 6 opulences that Krishna has in full, unlimited degree. And we see that anybody in this world who has these opulences, or some of them, or all of them, or one of them, or to even a small degree, people are attracted. And I was thinking about it, and it almost seems that wealth tends to be the most sought out or the most adorable opulence that somebody could have, at least in the eyes of others. Someone may be not very attractive, they may be not very knowledgeable, they may be extremely attached, means super materialistic, not detached but attached. They may be not very strong and not famous, or they may be infamous for being just a real unpleasant person in so many ways. But if they have wealth, it supersedes all of those. Okay, they got wealth. We'll pay some attention to them, at least to a degree. That tends to be the tendency. So, now, is it that from a spiritual point of view, we view money as evil or money as bad? Hare Krishna. Well, the Bible, the biblical, Bible, a lot of times it's quoted as, that's the problem with quoting things, is that just like a word could really, mess things up or confuse people. Like, for example, if someone says, I want to be Krishna, it's like, all right, they want to be Krishna, they want to be God, that's what that means. Versus, I want to be Krishna conscious, means I want to be conscious of Krishna. Just that word changes everything, like the whole philosophy. is changed just by one word. So, yeah, it's good to quote exact. But in the Bible, it says, it doesn't say that money is the root of all evil. It says that love of money is the root of all evil. Love of money is the root of all evil. Which means that when one becomes greedy, overly greedy, then they're willing just to do anything and everything. Means morality is thrown out the window as long as I could make more money. I don't care if people, in very extreme cases, and it may be very common these days, I don't care if people die, I don't care if people get hurt, I don't care if people get sick, etc., just as long as I make money. So love of money. It's interesting, another George Bernard Shaw, I don't know if that name means anything to anybody, but anyways, he had this quote, and the quote was that lack of money is the root of all evil. So before we discuss that, what I just wanted to ask some of those in the audience, what's true? Is it love of money is the root of all evil, or is it lack of money is the root of all evil? Anybody have any ideas? Yes. You could use the mic just for the
online.
if
Awesome.
there's any
It's
online people out there.
It's just a thought that came to me when you were asking this question. I believe it's equally both, because it is the obsession in one direction or the other that turns it to evil. The over-obsession, because you had said overly greedy, and I'm very aware of a person that was in my life once a long time ago, and he was so overly greedy that he just stepped on everybody's heads everywhere he went, because it was all about him and his money as opposed to other people, their jobs, their feelings, whatever. He didn't kill anyone, but, So I think it's just
Yeah.
that over-obsession.
All right. Any other thoughts in relation to this idea of the lack of money is the root of all evil? Okay, Guru Krishna is raising his hand.
I would wager that it's always an extreme that's a problem. Either you're extremely poor or you have an overabundance. It's very difficult to manage either one. But if you're Krishna conscious, then you can use all that money in Krishna's service. If you're Krishna conscious, you can just celebrate the fact that Krishna's taken everything away.
All right, thank you. There's actually one quote in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and it's actually it's a statement from Krishna, and he says that if I have special mercy on someone, I take everything away, and then all the person's family members, this and that, they don't like him anymore. They don't want anything to do with him or her. That's what Krishna says. And I remember someone was reading that verse from the Bhagavatam, and then somebody heard it and they said, "Oh no, we can't let people know about this. This is really we can't do." But the thing is, another name for Krishna is Hari. Hari means one who takes away. So Srila Prabhupada gives himself as an example of this particular verse, that Krishna takes everything away. Srila Prabhupada was married, he had children, he had a pharmaceutical business, but somehow or other it all just fell apart, really. And he was left with nothing, or practically no one. Of course, he always had Krishna, but later he realized how it was Krishna's special mercy, because first he took away everything, And then he gave them everything in the form of so many temples throughout the world. Srila Prabhupada established, with the help of his disciples, 108 temples, so many loving disciples, and so he gave. So Krishna takes and also gives. But, all right. Yeah, so I was just commenting on you saying that we could celebrate even when Krishna takes away. So, did Dimitri have something? Yes. You could have the mic, if you don't mind.
So about evil and lack of money, I think like Prabhuji said, like you said, balance is the key. But if I imagine a person who can't feed a child, I think, I don't know what I would do, but if there's no money and you have something kept there and you got to steal and your child is, like that's an extreme case.
Yeah.
So then the evil could come out of you. So that
Yes.
could happen.
Yes. Yeah, very good. Yeah, so this point is, okay, there's love of money, which is the root of all evil. Generally, people kind of accept that. It's okay, that makes sense, right? But then lack of money, is that the root of all evil? And like you were saying that if somebody's extremely poverty-stricken and they're trying just to maintain themselves or their families, they may do so many things because they don't have the means to make money or whatever. They do so many things which ordinarily they would never do just to make money. Means they don't follow any moral codes or standards, really. Just like Valmiki Muni, who wrote the Ramayana eventually after becoming a great sage, because before it's described he was doing all types of things, killing and so on, to maintain his family. And then eventually one sage came to him and said, "This isn't very good, Baba. This isn't very good because you're doing all of these things, but you're going to have to suffer karma for these bad activities." And so he said, the sage said, "You should go ask your family if they're willing to part with some of your karmic reactions." So he went and asked his wife and children, and they said, "Nope, we're not going to accept any of your reactions." So he was a little kind of, yeah, the money, but not the reaction. So then this sage, he advised him, okay, the Valmiki Muni said, "Well, what should I do?" And then the sage said, "Well, you chant the name of Ram." But he couldn't do it. He was he was so, at the time, fallen, just so degraded, really, he couldn't do it. So then he said, "All right, we'll chant Mara, Mara, Mara," which means death. Mara, Mara, Mara. And eventually it became Rama, 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 Rama. And he started chanting Rama, Rama, Rama. And then he wrote the Ramayana, which is just amazing. Book about Lord Ramchandra's pastimes. So Valmiki Muni, for whatever reason, he was doing all different types of terrible things to maintain his family. And we see that happens, especially nowadays. If somebody cannot somehow or other make money, it's a very expensive age. So they'll just engage in all types of things, terrible things just to maintain. So yeah, lack of money can be seen to be the root of all evil as well, or the root of evil as well. So, recently I was speaking to one of my sisters, and she was telling me how my nephew was, he's saving a bunch of money since he was like, I don't know, he's only, how old is Layden? 10? 8. So he's been saving money since he was like 4 or something, I don't know, for his birthday and Christmas. And I asked, well, why is he saving money? And then my sister said, well, because I told him, you should save your money for something. So he's been saving it for years, not spending it, which I never did anything like that growing up. I mean, I think in my childhood time, they didn't give us money very much. They just, bought us stuff. And even if they did give us money, I didn't save it. But so he's saving a lot. And the other nephew, he gets money and he just spends it. The brother, he just spends it. And I'm going to relate this to, what we're discussing here, but he just spends it. But he doesn't spend it just on himself. He also spends it on others. Like he went to some ice cream shop or something, and like he just gave the cashier guy $10, like a tip or something, $10, So which one's better? Is it better just to save everything, right? Because you never know what's going to happen. Or is it better just to spend it all, right? Just let it go, spend it all on yourself, on unnecessary needs and so on, and others. Let it go, right? So we could say both. Both is good. I mean, Srila Prabhupada mentioning a brahmana, a learned person, or a priestly person, a learned person, it said that they could get $1 million in one day and then spend it. Not for whimsical purposes, but for spiritual purposes. Like a brahmin will get $1 million one day, and they'll say, "All right, we've been waiting for this money. Now we're going to build a temple, an escondido," right? So both, but both can be engaged in the sense that we may save some money for emergencies, but we shouldn't save all of it, because it's not a good policy. In other words, some needs to be spent. And specifically, it should be spent on that which will benefit others and that which will benefit oneself, spiritually. Like, somebody who sponsored the painting of the temple? I'm forgetting.
That was a special donation that, remember, Vijay had gotten a donation from you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for the temple. So I don't know who
Okay.
that donation.
Okay, well, for a principle as an example, the temple was painted recently, and of course, living in a community, they have a saying: "No good deed goes unpunished." Means that I'm just an insignificant person, but I for example, I arranged this chair to be made. And the chair, it's not so when somebody sits on it, they feel very important and, they're be recognized as a great personality. But it's for respect of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the respect of the philosophy, that people who speak sit on this chair. So I was asked to arrange that this chair was made in Mexico. And it was a big deal, actually, because going back and forth and communicating with the people and raising the funds and finding, dealing with the guy who's carving it. It's and then they're taking too long, and then you have to find the fabric and you got to buy the foam, and so that was all on my head, trying to figure out all that. So some people, they say, "Oh, great chair! It was just amazing, looks really good, We got the best chair in all of Southern California," or whatever, right? And some people are saying, waste of money, waste of time. You should have did this. You should have done that. It should have been another color, right? So similarly with the building, somehow or other, I got the. Some people would say privilege to, it's because you're dealing with community again, it's difficult, right? So I got the privilege of picking the color. So first of all, Tyler and myself went on a whole mission, went like, paying off of buildings around town. I won't tell you what buildings, but trying to match, get a good color. And then that didn't really work. And then going to the paint shop and getting more colors, and it's a whole thing. And then painting the wall, different colors, and everybody saying no, bad, good, bad. And then there's 15 people, and they all got different ideas. So then I just say, okay, this color, we're painting it, which is the present color. And if you don't like it, I'm sorry. But the present color, which it's painted, right? Which is better than the previous color. But, so then I was a little worried, because actually Bhajanarayan Swami, he's our main leader here, he just said, oh, you figure it out, Balaram. That's right. I have faith in you. You figure it out. I'm like, okay, great. This is a big deal. So then it was painted, and then I was worried because it's like really bright, if you haven't noticed. But so then it was getting painted. I was like, this is really bright, and I was like really worried. And then devotees were coming by and looking like, that's really bright. That looks terrible. Some of the ashram monks. So then I was a little worried, but then with the accent of the white, if you see, there's an accent of white. It looks better. So then Bhajanarayan Swami said, okay, I like it. It's fine. And everybody else, a lot of people liked it. Still, some people said, doesn't look good, But I think it's nice because it actually pops. When you're driving on the road, everything else is beige and whatever, brown, this and that. So, but it pops, so it catches people's attention. That's what we want. We want to catch people's attention. So they say no good deed goes unpunished. So anyways, going back to the original point, being that to give for the beautification, is that a word? Yes. Okay, for the beautification of the temple is very good. People give for the beautification of their houses. And sometimes when people get really carried away, they'll change their kitchen, a few times in a few years, right? Different colors. I don't like this marble color. Let's get a new marble color, right? So for the beautification of our houses, people do that. It's very common. So to give money for the beautification of Krishna's temple, that's very good, and that's very uplifting, and very will feel great happiness by doing that, spiritual happiness. And yeah, many people have done that, give for the beautification of the temple. So, and what to speak of, because this particular age we're living in is not an age in which people will naturally come to temples. Some people will, like all of you. But it's an age, like they say, it's this. And in previous ages, people, they would search out a guru, a teacher, to become enlightened. And in this age, the guru has to go out and seek out the people. In other words, it's a difficult time. So what to speak of giving money for the distribution of Srila Prabhupada's books? Means Bhagavad Gita, so many wonderful books. To sponsor those books going out. It's very good. So I remember when I was, about 8 years old, I was in Oregon. That's a very beautiful place, actually, if you're ever able to go there, but it's called Illinois River. Very beautiful, clear. river, and it was in the summertime, so we were swimming there, and we would jump off these big rocks. So I remember I was jumping off these rocks when I was 8 years old, and somehow or other I had a bunch of money in my, not a bunch, maybe $30 in my swimming trunks. And it was, 20s, 1s, 10s, and so I jumped in the water, and then all of a sudden I look around, and those bills were just floating everywhere. And all my family and friends, they were collecting those bills. Like, oh, great, wonderful, this is amazing. Look we're getting free money here. And I was just completely disturbed. But not so much because I was attached to the money, honestly speaking, but I've always liked people to kind of take me seriously, to a degree. So I was really upset because I was telling my friends and family, and I was 8 years old too, so I was telling my friends and family, I was saying, this is my money. Like, it's not just floating down the river, like this was in my pockets. And they're all joking with me, oh yeah, sure, and yeah, sure, it's your money, and they're like stuffing it in their pockets and stuff. So I was more so upset because they weren't believing me. They were thinking I was lying. But Srila Prabhupada gives us example. So what to do in that situation when you find money? He says that there's 3 things you could do. 1, you reject it. Oh, I don't want anything to do with it. 2, you could accept it and say, okay, great. Now I'm going to take it for my own, enjoyment. Or 3, you could give it back to the owner, person it belongs to, which is the best. Because, for example, also, Srila Prabhupada says, like if you were to go into the Bank of America and you were to go in and say, I reject all of this money, right? And people think, okay, this person's kind of, something's wrong with them or something, they're not thinking right. Because it doesn't make, I reject all this money. The money doesn't belong to the person in the first place. Or if they're going to go into the bank and Bank of America and they say, all this money is mine, right? It still doesn't make sense. So Srila Prabhupada, what does that mean? It means that for us to say, I'm rejecting all of this money or whatever it is, the thing is, it doesn't belong to us in the first place. Or if we were to say, all of this is mine. No, it's not. It doesn't belong to us in the first place. So the idea is that there is a proprietor, and the supreme proprietor is Krishna. So that's the example, that instead of taking it for one's own enjoyment or rejecting it, like the personalists do, one gives it back to the owner. And who's the owner? Krishna. So in other words, we utilize whatever we have. And here this particular verse in Prabhupada's talking about money, but we utilize whatever we have for serving Krishna. That's the idea. So we utilize our intelligence, our words, our body, our minds, our money, our assets, everything to serve Krishna, for the pleasure of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, we use it for God's service. That's the idea. And in this way, we remain, neither are we attached, right? Neither we are falsely detached. But we know how to use everything for the highest purpose. So that's the idea. And last thing is that in the purport, Srila Prabhupada brings up Komara Achret Pragyo Dharman Bhagavatam Iha Durlabham Manashum Janma Tadapya Dhruvam Artadam, that one should utilize the human form of life from the very beginning. Now, some of us didn't have that opportunity. In other words, we didn't use our human form of life for spiritual life from the beginning. We started late. So nothing to be depressed about. We could just start as soon as we understand the importance, which is hopefully by now we've understood the importance, to utilize our human form of life for spiritual advancement. But this is also important for those who have children or those who plan to have children, that especially those who have young children, because this is mentioning from the very beginning. So it means that the fate, the destiny of the child, largely, don't mean to put too much pressure on, but sorry. The fate, the destiny of the child largely depends to a very large degree on the parents. How good of a guru are the parents? How good of a teacher are the parents? Because the children will mimic, the children will copy whatever the parents do. Like somebody told me there was some comic recently, and the woman, she was on her phone, or she was whatever on her computer or something, and she was complaining how her children are just so addicted to technology. So why are these children always like this? And well, because they learn from the parents. So whatever the parents do, the children will follow. So if the parents are Krishna conscious, if the parents are spiritually advanced, if the parents are trying to be spiritually advanced, then that's the best thing they could do for their children. The best thing they could do for their children is to be a good example of a Krishna conscious person. Not that they look at their parents and say, oh, well, they take care of me materially and they take care of all their material duties, and that's what they learn. They'll just learn how to take care of themselves materially and take care of all their material duties, and that's it. So, Komara Acharit Pragyo. So, from the very beginning, to train them. And people say, oh, well, why are you training? You're forcing your children, right? You're forcing your children to come to the temple, to chant Hare Krishna, do all these things. Well, I mean, a good parent will also force their children to go to the dentist. They're also, not force, but they'll, make sure their children go to the dentist. They'll make sure their children go to school and don't eat candy all day, right? They'll make sure that their children are properly fed and clothed and all these things. So it's not a question of, we'll let them choose the religion. Okay, fine, then subject them to many religions and let them choose. I mean, some people say that, right? Let them choose their religion later on in life. But the fact is, people aren't letting their children choose so many things, right? So, same with Krishna consciousness, we have to try to encourage them. All right, so does anybody have any questions or comments? I kind of feel, anyways, yes.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hey, I was thinking along that line, there was a couple of sayings that I had heard in the past. One day, a nice lady member of our society was giving a class, and she was talking about how her mother, had, given to her children in her old age, and her mother had said, she made a nice quote. She said, "It's better to give with a warm hand than a cold hand." So it's good that while we're alive to render service, to give what we can, and to engage in Krishna's service in that way. So that was good.
Yeah.
And then there was another one I heard the other day. It said that you'll never see a Brinks truck following a hearse. When you're leaving this world, you can't take it with you. But what you do with your life now is what's important. So I just wanted to share that. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Those are good.
You said that Krishna takes away things and he gives us back something else, right? So just a thought on that. Could it be that the things that he took away from us was because of our past life bad karma? Because like the karma doesn't go away, right? It just carries over. And since we are devoted to Krishna, he's giving us like good things because we are his devotee.
Okay, thank you. Let's drink some. So Krishna may take things away, you're saying, because it may be due to our karma, past karma of past lives or even this life. And he may give us things because we're devotees. Well, if one becomes a devotee of Krishna, then the laws of karma do not exactly operate, or they do not operate like they do for ordinary people. So in other words, Krishna takes control personally of that devotee and dishing out their karma or what they should receive, what they shouldn't receive. But a devotee's mentality or a Krishna conscious person's mentality is that whatever bad happens in their life, they think that actually I deserve worse than this because of what I've done in the past, this life or last life. I actually deserve worse. But Krishna is so merciful that he's reducing the reaction. For example, sometimes devotees cut their finger in the kitchen, right? When they're cutting carrots or whatever they're cutting, right? And then devotees say, oh, well, this is Krishna's mercy. And you say, oh, well, how is that? Well, actually, I probably deserve to get my finger cut off, but, Krishna's just reducing the reaction. And if something good happens, then the devotee thinks that, actually, I don't deserve this either, but Krishna is so merciful that he's giving me more facility for my Krishna consciousness, or in this way he's reciprocating with me, giving me something good. So the idea is that the devotee is always grateful. And Srila Prabhupada said that this particular verse, because it comes from a verse from Lord Brahma, Srila Prabhupada says that this verse should be the guiding verse of all devotees of Krishna, this particular verse. Because you see sometimes something bad happens in a person's life, and they lose faith in God, they lose faith in Krishna. They say, oh, well. Or if something good happens, they also lose faith, right? They think, oh, so it's going so good, what do I need God for, right? So, yeah, that's how a devotee sees it. All right, is there any other question or comment?
Interrupts the class, but Ramapati Prabhu stepped in, and this is just a little service announcement, that the devotees, they prepare the Sunday feast, and there's so much that goes into it, along with the, offering the nice foodstuffs and everything. They're requesting moving forward that if you do want to get prasadam after the program, that you kindly get a coupon from the gift shop. So I just wanted to mention that, Balaram. Sorry to interrupt the flow of the class here.
Yeah, that's okay. So does anybody have any other comments? Yes, Tyler?
So in a Bhagavatam class a little bit ago, you were talking about trying to reach the standard that we're instructed 50% of our money should be used in furtherance of Krishna consciousness. That's the ideal standard that we can follow. And that might seem like a high amount to someone who's not giving anything in the furtherance of Krishna consciousness. And so, if we take a step towards Krishna, he takes many steps towards us. It can be like a game if you really had faith that, if I give a little more, if I give 25% this month, 30% this month, Krishna's going to work everything out.
Yeah.
And I'm doing the right standard. Let's see some magic happen when I'm giving up more of my money. So I'm thinking of someone who is either scared to donate their money for Krishna consciousness because they think, I really need this money, or they're miserly and they can't give up the money. They're so attached to it. What do you suggest to someone who, we know they should be doing charity, it's good for them, it's prescribed, Krishna will reciprocate if they do, but whether they're afraid or whether they're just really attached, how do they become encouraged to begin giving charity and beginning that process?
Well, a person has to have faith in the particular institution or group or charitable institution, or they have to have faith that who they're giving to are going to utilize it properly. And if people don't have faith and they say, I'm not going to give there, if somebody's out on the street collecting for saving children or whatever, and you have no faith that they're actually using that money for that, then you're not going to give it. But if you have faith, then you may give. So the idea is to develop faith. We have to have faith, and that will help us part with what needs to be parted with. Means it's Krishna's instruction. We're not talking about Balarama Dasa's instruction here. We're talking about my opinion or something. We're talking about Krishna's instructions. Krishna's instructions are that those who are working for money should part. It means charity that helps them become detached, to not have the burden of that karmic reaction really on them. So they, but in order to do that, they have to have faith. And I remember I was talking to one devotee. He said, "I don't have faith here in this temple, that temple." And I said, "Well, there must be like one temple you have faith in." And he said, "Yeah, there is actually, in New York or this and that." I said, "All right, well, give there." So find, and of course, some people who are not far on the path of Krishna consciousness, they may have no faith in any temple. They say, I want to give to another organization, which Krishna explains is pious and good. Better they do that than nothing. But ultimately, Krishna is saying, better that people give to his mission. That's the best. So, yeah, there's fear. There's attachment. Yeah, these different things have to be overcome, really. Because the idea is sarva dharmam pratyajam mamekam sharanam vraja, to surrender to Krishna. And what does that mean? Again, that means we have it means to surrender what we have to Krishna. They have a saying, Krishna doesn't see what we give, but he sees what we hold back, Bhajanarayan Swami said that when he was a young devotee going to the LA temple, there was this young Dwarkadish there. And he would go around with the plate, the donation plate. And then, as a young, I think his name was Bob. His name was Bhakti Bob, Bhajanarayan Swami, Bhakti Bob. Young man. And so he would keep some change in one pocket. He tells the story. He keeps some change in one pocket and he keeps some bills in the other pocket. So this young boy, Bhajanarayan Swami said he would take out the coins and put them there and keep the bills in another one. And this young boy, Dwarkadish, he went up to him one day. He went up to him one day and he went like this on his pocket, hitting the coins. And he said, "No, Krishna wants this one," And he was really surprised because he was like a 6-year-old boy, It's like, wow, he's very intelligent, So, But I remember, I mean, I'm on the temple board here, but maybe by whatever accident or whatever, but I'm on the board, and sometimes I go over finances. It's just part of what needs to be a topic that needs to be covered, right? Everything's not going on. Money's required to keep everything going on. So they go over finances, how we're doing, this and that. So I remember, you're looking at the names of the donors. There's hundreds of them throughout the year, and I remember on the top, I don't know, it was 10 or something. I remember seeing a person's name there, and I know for a fact that they don't make a lot of money. Like, I know for a fact. And I remember seeing their name on the top 10. I was like, wow, it's pretty good. I mean, in the sense that I was impressed by their selflessness, knowing that they didn't make a lot of money, but still they felt in their heart, let me give to maintaining Krishna's temple, to preaching of Krishna consciousness, right? Spreading the glories of Krishna. So there is something like that. Krishna doesn't see what we give, but what we hold back. There was one case of a disciple, a godbrother of Srila Prabhupada. He was working, and what he would do is he would give his whole check, like everything, to their guru, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And he was married, and he had children and everything. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, his guru, said, he wouldn't tell him not to. He would say, okay, thank you for the check. And then he would go back to that person's wife, and he would, give some money back. So, but yeah, we have to overcome the fear, and we have to overcome the attachment. And that will happen through development of faith, and also by the chanting of the holy names of Krishna. Means chanting Hare Krishna. We'll overcome actually all obstacles by chanting Krishna's names. So anyways, I hope that kind of, yeah. All right. Any last? Someone may wonder, yeah.
Oh, no, I was saying the time. I was looking
Go
at the
over down?
time.
Thank you, Bala. Last month, I've gotten hurt, I burned my finger, my calf got messed up. And so every day I'm thinking, thank you, Krishna.
Yeah.
I know it's painful, though.
It could have been worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Yeah, and sometimes people may wonder, why are we talking about money? This is very mundane. Like, why are we talking about money? This is very mundane. But we should be able to cover every single topic that we have to deal with in this world, and try to understand it from a Krishna conscious point of view. How to deal with it? How do we see it? So it's not mundane. So. Anyways, I just wanted to add that. Why is this guy up here talking about money? All right, so now we will have kirtan. So, and then after the kirtan, if everybody just lines up in rows, and then they'll serve out the dinner. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna.